it's worth knowing that they have a 92% chance of failure, at least statistically. So let's discuss the 3 biggest reasons why they fail, and I'll save number 1 for last. So number 3, it's not actually a mutual decision. An open relationship has to be a win-win for both people in the primary relationship. And oftentimes it's coerced, or one person reluctantly goes along with it out of fear of losing their partner. Number 2, mutual boundaries and rules. The primary relationship must be healthy enough that both people can openly and expressly communicate, as well as agree upon boundaries and rules like, are we still having sex, and what can we explore versus avoid with other people. And the biggest reason why open relationships fail is because the primary relationship isn't healthy to begin with. Most couples try an open relationship because they're trying to compensate for something that's missing in their relationship. They think that all that's missing is sex or connection. If they can get this somewhere else, they can keep the partnership alive and intact. Not only do they lack the foundation and emotional tools to make this work, they're also ignoring the fact that most of these problems are due to underlying trauma, insecurities, and differences in core values. When it comes to these problems, an open relationship is generally going to make them worse. Check out the podcast if you want to go deeper.
What you think, Kylie?
Okay, so I'm a content creator as well, and I saw the hook, and the hook there was that 92% of open relationships fail, which is not credible. That's not backed by any academic research. Never has been, never will be. I've heard that before, and it's just kind of one of those things that people throw around. I think he probably threw that around as a hook to get people to watch his video. But I will be 100% honest. He did have a lot of decent points, especially the ones about how a lot of people do go into non-monogamous frameworks, and they think that it's going to be this band-aid. And I'm somebody who used to be a swinger. I was in the swinger lifestyle and an advocate for the swinger lifestyle. I am no longer a part of the swinger lifestyle, not because I think that there's anything wrong with swinging, or like it's just not for me anymore. And I got divorced, but it wasn't because of swinging. It was because me and my partner grew and evolved past each other. Actually, if anything, swinging probably kept us together for longer. But again, if there's holes in your relationship, if your partner is not having sex with you, or your sexual connection is not good, or your communication's bad, it's not going to work. And it's just going to, put a magnifying glass on all the issues that you have. So I can agree with that and what he was saying about that. But the other stuff, the statistics and stuff like that were just absolutely not true. Actually, there's been real studies done, and they found that individuals who are in consensually non-monogamous relationships, they report similar, if not better, levels of satisfaction and trust and commitment and communication. So I'm not here to defend consensual non-monogamy. I'm not here to defend monogamy. I think it's the choice of what you want to do. If you want to be in an open relationship, or if you want to be in a monogamous framework, it's up to you, but you're choosing that, not because society tells you what you have to do.
Anybody got any comments?
Yeah, I mean, me, like I said on here before, I lived with 2 girls when I was in college. I've had open relationships, so like, I mean, I understand the need, especially like for the guy. And I'm just talking about how men are physically, like we kind of like are supposed to like keep going and like have all of these mates. Like you look at wildlife, you see one male lion, you see a bunch of female lions. So I think some of the science behind it is like a guy may love his chick, but he may want to go out there and experience other stuff. And it keeps the relationship healthy, because I feel like that's why we got a lot of infidelity, because people don't feel comfortable saying, hey, I'm bored. Hey, like I'm not enjoying this, or I want something else, because they're going to be shamed or judged, or the person's going to leave them. And sometimes it's just a person's physical desires. It's not necessarily an attack on a person that they're in a relationship with.
So do you think open relationships build anything, or they just delay responsibility?
It depends on the situation. If you got 3 people in there in a poly relationship, there's more money, there's more people to help. If there's there's no spice in the relationship and you're trying to keep the relationship going and you add something to it and that kind of like buffers, like you're into the relationship more. It all depends. It's situational, I think. It depends on the couple.
Easy.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off what Grace said. It really just depends on the individuals. My personal experience when I was married, tried it, and then, hey, I'm divorced, so that just explains everything. So, it just depends on the individual. It depends on the agreement that y'all both have, and it depends on each other's mindset. That's pretty much it. I said in the last episode, I was confused because I was like really confused for real. Like no BS. I'm like, okay, how is it cheating if it's an open relationship? But Vulgar was like, it's based on the agreement. So I'm like, man, I tried it. It didn't work.
Yeah. And when I say based on agreement, that's just the details of the contract. The consequences, I think so many people forget about the consequences. That's why I'm not necessarily for it. I'm not necessarily against it either. But I will hunker down and say that if there are children involved, I think it's like the worst thing you can do. I think that's something like, I don't know if y'all know, like bees and wasps, like during spring and summer, their whole agenda is to get, to get nectar and all that and honey for the hive. They get everything ready for the winter. And then around August, you'll notice this now. I'm saying you'll probably notice it. Wasps and bees tend to get more aggressive towards the end when fall's coming because they've done their job. And then after that, they can just go after meat. They prefer meat, but because they have a job to do, they have to go after nectar and pollen and stuff like that for the hive. And then after they achieve their job, they can do whatever. So I kind of feel like that's the thing with, I think monogamy is the best situation. I think a lot of people try to say, well, if you're not happy and to me, an open relationship is not going to help that. If you're not happy, that's like fruit of a poisonous tree to me. Like either you need to be healthy or that person need to be healthy. I need to have yourself together before I even talk about getting into a relationship. Because what you said, Easy, is what I'm seeing a lot. When I was researching to find these videos, what I was seeing a lot of is one person in a monogamous relationship wanted to open it up, right? And they either already had somebody that they plan on dealing with. They just wanted to basically not sneak around, sneak their way into it. Or they wanted to go outside the relationship and not divorce the person. And then they started their thing. The other person who didn't want it was hesitant. And then when that person finally found somebody, the person they found they click with that person. And then the person who opened it up now wants to close it or is jealous.
And yeah, I want to add also, it wasn't my suggestion. It was my ex-wife's suggestion. So she the one that brought it to me. So hey, I got my hands up, dog. I did my part.
So is that what happened? Did she close it off? Like, did you go find somebody and maybe she looked better or was younger or something, and then she was like, I don't want to do this no more?
No, that wasn't the total say all of what happened to me, but that was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
Kylie, what about you? Was it your idea or was it the guy's idea?
So it was actually, so I came out to my ex as bisexual when we first started dating, and we had talked about doing like threesomes and stuff like that. And then he had brought up swinging to me. And I actually said no at first because I just wasn't comfortable with it. But after a while of, deciding, okay, we're going to do this and communicating about it, it did end up working. And I do think that I think that a lot of people think that that's what's going to happen. But a lot of people I know who are in non-monogamous settings and in non-monogamous relationships truthfully, like they have that conversation together and they make a mutual, shared commitment to it. I think a lot of people get really confused about what non-monogamy looks like because we don't actually have any good cultural representation, because all of the representation that people see, if they're not in these lifestyles, if they're not in these communities, is what they see online, is what they see from and I know that you guys referenced this in the last podcast, Nick Cannon and Neo, which are terrible representations of what non-monogamy is. They're not actually doing non-monogamy. They're doing, wanting their cake and eating it too. And that's not what non-monogamy is. Non-monogamy is unlearning monogamy. And that's really hard. And jealousy comes into that. And yes, agreements and boundaries are really, really important. And I kind of want to go back to what Vulgar said about the kids. There are no studies that say that children who grow up in non-monogamous settings are any worse off than monogamous settings. I think that a family and how you define a family is, teaching our children love, and are they supported? And we're teaching them open communication. We're teaching them consent. We're teaching them that the norm for families doesn't always have to look the same just because of what our society and cultural, representations of that are. As long as the children are loved, that's all that matters. And they've actually found that in non-monogamous settings, children are more, supported and loved and treated, better than in monogamous settings where parents are typically getting divorced. I'm somebody from a divorced, family. So
Sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt you. Like I was just putting what people were saying.
no, yeah.
For me, it was definitely my idea. It was definitely like, spice it up or whatever. Do I feel like emotions get involved? Absolutely, especially on women's side. That they typically are the ones that's getting jealous, but guys get jealous a lot too, especially they don't.
No, it's actually the males more. So typically what happens is the males will come to their partner and say, I want to open up the relationship. And the women are like, they come and they find that, and this is actually why the divorces that do happen in, especially like in the swinger lifestyle, this is what I've found from the community. The women find their confidence and they're like, oh, I'm confident. I'm feeling good about myself. And the men are seeing like, people aren't reaching out to them for dates, and it's harder for them because it is harder because you have 66% of the swinger lifestyle and non-monogamous lifestyle is men, and then you have 33% women, so there's more men, so it's easier. And these are just statistics, you can look these up. And so essentially what people see happening is the men get jealous and they're like, he's bigger than me, he's better than me. And they start to, want to close it up, actually. Their emotions get involved because women have more community to work through their emotions with and talk about their emotions. And unfortunately, men in non-monogamous settings are the most underserved community in that setting. And that's why I like working with men specifically, because they're underserved and underrepresented.
Yeah, I had an experience with that. I actually I had met somebody on Bumble, and she literally told me like right before the date that she was married and that the guy was okay with it. And he ended up coming on FaceTime during the date. Yeah. But she was saying that he was having issues as far as finding somebody. And to me, that sounds natural because a woman can go outside and pull a dude. A dude got to, a guy got to put in work. So, yeah, what you said is definitely true. A lot of men, they, in theory, they think it's good. And then when they see that it actually takes work for them to get somebody, it kind of messes the situation up. So not to keep going back and forth, but I want to give you a chance to basically, 85.
Your boys, that's what I say. Your boys,
You could stay away, huh?
Hey, yo, man, I'm out here. I just wanted to pop in and say, yo, I love what you guys doing. Shout out to the man cave. Unfortunately, I'm not there. Young lady, I agree with your views 100%. I wish I was on the panel with you guys. But I wanted to tap in with my brothers and let them know I ain't forget about them. I'm just on a business trip. But
Oh
shout
yeah.
out to the man cave. That's all I wanted to say, y'all. Much love, man. Keep the show going.
Oh
For
yeah.
sure.
Get that
Appreciate
bread,
it,
man.
bro.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So
What you asking Kylie? My bad.
no,
No,
I just wanted you to explain like what are the best ways to go about open relationships. Because one of my other concerns besides family would be, right now the world is hot,
It is.
and
yeah.
that risk of if you do something and bring something back, what are some of the ways that you mitigate that risk? Because some things condoms don't help with.
This is true. And I think that it's so what they have found in the studies that they've done, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about, swingers having STIs and people who are non-monogamous having STIs. But really, swingers and people who are non-monogamous tend to be more sex positive, and they tend to be more open about sex with each other. So what they found is they talk about it more regularly. Think about people on dating apps who are single, who are dating, right? If you're somebody who's dating multiple people, if you're in your 20s, you're dating people, you're having sex with multiple people, you're more likely to not talk about it. Maybe, there's some shame there. But with people who are non-monogamous, they are finding that like it's not more high risk to be non-monogamous. It's not more high risk to be a swinger because people are safe and protected and, getting tested more and talking more with their doctors. They're using birth control. They're using PrEP. They're using, a lot more protective measures as opposed to somebody who maybe doesn't have the education on that, or there's a lot of shame around that. And then you think about people who are cheating. Well, they're way more likely to bring home an STI because they're keeping it really hush hush. So I think that that's a very common misconception that people are just, swingers are just out there spread. I get it every day in my DMs and in my comments on my social media. You're just out there spreading STIs. And it's like, I've never known anybody in the lifestyle to get an STI, but I've known plenty of people who were not in the lifestyle or living a normal, sexually explorative life, because the reality is we're sexual people. We just like to hide that a little bit more. I mean, people like to hide that, I think, more than somebody who's in the lifestyle or non-monogamous.
Yeah. I want to clarify. I was not in an open marriage. She introduced a threesome to me. That's why I want to clear up. And that
Right.
kind of made our relationship rocky. So no, she wasn't out effing other dudes, bro. She introduced a threesome to me, and then that made our relationship kind of rocky when I was in the military. So trying to have that and be in the military, it really didn't work, bro.
I agree, because that was with me. I'm not having no other men involved. It's gonna be only women. But I don't know if you want to go into it more, but what made it rocky? You don't have to go into it more if you don't want to, but
It just did, bro. It just didn't. I mean, like it wasn't like instantly, like you know what I'm saying. Just over time, it just became like nah. And
do
then
you think it?
after that, it became mutual. Like okay, and she had other issues too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that was just one underlying issue. That wasn't just the main issue. It was that on top of that on top of that, and then that just kind of avalanche into something else.
So
So
you
It put a
think that was just a
magnifying
way of
glass.
trying to say, yeah? Was that a way of trying
yeah,
to save the marriage, and
a
that
big
wasn't
old
the
avalanche, like snowball effect.
so you didn't get to the root cause of the problem?
No, that was just one of the issues. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I feel like when a lot of people do that, they're trying to put a Band-Aid on something, instead of getting to the real issue.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes, to me, like I said, I'm not for or against open relationships. I just think the reason a lot of people do it is avoiding like accountability. They not understanding that monogamous relationships have their benefits, but the dopamine part of it is not going to last. And I think a lot of people can't get past that after so many years of looking at the same person. You're not going to have that magic anymore. And I think that's what people be trying to get back, is that magic, instead of understanding that you're growing and to accept the new norm. I feel like people who do last in monogamous relationships, they're not motivated by dopamine.
So let's say that it's not the boredom, right? But let's say like you meet someone and they have all the qualities of a good partner, but they don't have the superficial stuff. So you're not necessarily as attracted to them. Is that okay or grounds to say, hey, you have everything financial, emotionally, stability, but I'm working out every day, I'm doing this, I'm getting attention, like, so I want to like explore, but we have everything else. Is that not a valid solution?
What? It's just say
If
that
you're
last
not
part again.
attracted to your spouse, but they have everything else that fits the bill, but you want to go do something else because you want to be with someone you're attracted to, so you want to open a relationship.
No, I think you should. Me personally, I think you should end it.
What
I
about you,
agree.
Kylie? Have you ran into that?
I mean, I think that, and it's funny because like I'm somebody who socializes as a woman, so like I'm gonna have a different opinion on this, because for me, I think that attraction is definitely something that is not necessarily felt through the way that somebody looks. I think that for me, it's definitely more emotional, and I think that a lot of women are less visual than men. Women are more about the emotions and the feelings involved, and they can build attraction more so than a man. And like I 1000% recognize that just men are more visual, and like your point is valid. But I don't think that that's fair to the other person. Like, oh, I'm not attracted to you. Well, how about instead of like not being, how can you find yourself more attracted to somebody? Maybe work with them, if you want them to lose weight, encourage that, inspire them to take care of themselves more. Do that with them, as opposed to just being like, I'm just going to go find somebody that I'm more attracted to. And I don't believe that that's why most people get into non-monogamy. I think it has way more to do with like they want to be fulfilled in other ways. I don't necessarily think it's an attraction thing, but yeah, that's my opinion.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, I think a lot of it's discipline. Like I've been with my woman for a long time, and every spring all the women come out their clothes, and I'm out and I see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm a man. There's an attraction, but there's a discipline in me that's saying that's off limits. And for me, I find I've always been like this. I find it makes me feel good to be able to turn that down. I'm like, okay, I'll look at it. I love watching women jog, and they super tight leggings. Now they got the kind that push the butt up, you know. But I just think I think you have to grow. Like just the open relationship thing to me is almost like a laziness for people who don't want to be disciplined and understand, because the other person has to deal with that. It's not really equal. So somebody's going to get jealous within it. I feel like if you're going to do it, it got to be like that from the start.
But
Yeah,
is it
or I
Like,
think solo
I think
by
a pimp,
yourself.
to me, it just be like, I would be a pimp. If I'm gonna have an open relationship, I'm just going to be a pimp about it.
my bad? I mean to interrupt you, Kylie. What were you saying?
Well, I was going to say that, like, and this is something that I found with my clients, and this is something that I found in my own personal relationships, doing non monogamy, is that you're not always going to meet each other at the exact same place. And if you do, I feel like you're probably lying. Somebody's lying to themselves, right? Like, there's always going to be a different evolution because we're all different people. And that's what makes it so difficult. And I think that that's really where the root causes are. Like, somebody might not get more jealous, or the boundaries may be different. So it's really hard to do it as a couple starting out. Like in a monogamous framework. And then like moving to non-monogamy is way harder than just like being non-monogamous from the start, or doing something like solo polyamory, or like relationship anarchy, if anybody knows what that is. But it's a lot harder as like a couple to do it, for sure.
Yeah, I have to be like Andrew Tate and just have a stable a iceberg slim.
I don't know. I feel like it's every man's dream to have like 2, 3, but the problem is actually having to have a relationship with all of them.
Yeah, like, that's too many. That's
Because
too many emotions, bro.
it was just like fun, sure, but the emotions is a problem. That's how I see it.
And you got to have them on a schedule. Got one on Monday, one on Wednesday. They all want their time. Yeah, that's just too much. I'm cool.
That's a lot of juggling. That's a lot
Yeah,
of juggling. You doing this all the
I'm
time.
gonna be mixing their names up. I mix my kids' names up. I'll be calling them.
Did you have another video? You want to do closing thoughts, Volker?
We could do closing thoughts.
All right, easy. We go have you go first. What's your closing thoughts?
Clothing thoughts is this show was an eye opener. Honestly, I always tell y'all this is like therapy for me. So I'm enjoying it. I appreciate y'all letting me be on this show, man, so I can get my thoughts out. I'm gladly appreciative, man, for real.
And Tyler, we definitely appreciate you for coming. Give us your final thoughts and shout out your platforms again.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. So that's awesome. But definitely, I think if you're watching this and if I resonated with you at all, I would highly recommend, just kind of looking into some of the things that we talked about here today when it comes to non-monogamy. Because remember that there's a lot of cultural messages about, how relationships are supposed to work. And truthfully, where we find the most love is within ourselves. And I truly wholeheartedly believe that. And if you are curious about me or anything that I do, so I have a podcast. It's called the Pineapple Express Podcast, where we talk about relationships, love. We don't necessarily just talk about non-monogamy. We talk about everything, sex positivity, sexual freedom. So, definitely listen to my podcast. Find me on Instagram. My name is at the Pineapple Express Podcast. And then on TikTok, I am at the Pineapple Express Podcast 1. So, if you're curious about anything, hit me up, DM me, email me, any way you want. I'm here.
For
Definitely.
sure.
Go ahead, bro.
My closing thoughts. First, I want to thank Kylie and the Pineapple Express Podcast for coming. And like, comment, share, subscribe. This is the Man Cave every Monday and Wednesday. We're going to keep bringing you guys great content and new guests. I hope you're enjoying the show. Tuesday night is canceled. Laura hosts over there. She's on a cruise. Thursday, we'll be back to regular programming. On Wednesday, we're actually talking about cryptocurrency and XRP.
All right. Any type of relationship that you're gonna choose or be in, basically just work on yourself, present your best self. I didn't get to say it during the podcast, what's going on, but yeah, just work on being your best self. And if you feel certain things in a relationship, like if you're in a monogamous relationship, I think you should get to the bottom of that instead of running to sexual things or running to other personalities, hoping that's going to fix it. And if you can't fix it there, I mean, they have no fault, which I totally disagree with. But other news, I've changed the name of my channel from the Vulgar Locker Room to Locker Room Therapy. Thank you, Easy. The name wasn't easily memorable, so this is easier for people to remember. I start getting subscriptions already. So y'all go over there and subscribe, because I'm a little bit crazier over there. And that's it.
For sure.
I appreciate all of y'all, man. And thank you, Kylie, for real.
Oh yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you,
for
Kylie.
having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. We definitely got to bring you back. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll play the outro.
Introducing the new party. We live stream Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.